We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Aren't we joyful today that it is not going to be 110 or something like that? I know I am. And I want to welcome everyone to this live in-person and live Zoom worship service of the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside. Our opening hymn this morning is number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere. It is in the gray hymnal, but it's also going to be projected behind me. Feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you for joining us here in person, and thank you for joining us remotely by Zoom, where we will continue live streaming and posting these services on our YouTube channel for our virtual attendees. I'm Tinka Friend, a member of the worship committee, and I will be your worship associate today. Other members of the worship committee that make this service possible include Alec Peck, our music coordinator, Adam Wettiging, who monitors our visual and online connection, and Kate Lewicki, who is in charge of our sound system, and Wren, who's going to be, who's newly joined our worship committee and is going to be delivering a sermon for you today. We welcome you to join us this morning with an open mind and an open heart, and with muted electronic devices, please. We know you come from different places, different religions, different beliefs, and different backgrounds. We hope that you will find acceptance, connection, challenge, and love here at this church. We hope that you will also find ways to provide outreach to others in the community, in our congregation, in our local community, and in our world community. So thank you for joining us today. Before we move into the service, there are a few announcements we would like to share. We will mention several websites, email addresses, and phone numbers. At the end of the service, we will leave up a slide with all of this information, and it is available on our website. The monthly UUCR newsletter comes out the first of every month by email and, per request, by postal mail. If you have something newsworthy or something that you would like to contribute, email uuchurchofriverside.calendar@gmail.com, or you can call the church office at 951-686-6515. If you would like to be added to our mailing list, please contact the church office. And church council will meet on the second Friday of the month in the annex. The next meeting will be at 4 p.m. on August 11th. And now I invite you to sit back, take a slow, deep breath as we move into the worship hour. You are welcome to read with me the mission statement of our church. Our mission is to foster a diverse religious community that celebrates life, affirms the individual, encourages spiritual growth and open thought, and works to advance social justice and environmental sustainability. Our speaker today is Wren Monsour, who has been attending UUCR for about a year, first by Zoom and now in person. She is a classically trained singer and a student of library science. She decided to attend UUCR after seeing how her fellow pagans were welcomed in the Long Beach UU Church. She lives with her wonderful wife, Wren, and they hope to adopt a dog soon. After listening to the previous sermon series, Building Bridges, by Reverend Melanie Morel-Ensminger, which is a series that I delivered last month, Wren struggled with what seemed to be a message of tolerance, even for the intolerable. She came to realize that tolerance is quite different from acceptance, and that what one is willing to tolerate can change from situation to situation. And so this morning, she shares her journey of understanding. We have two lightings of sacred flames. The first is the Occupied Indigenous Peoples Remembrance Candle, and the second is the lighting of our own chalice, which is our symbol of faith. We walk upon the traditional territories of diverse and sovereign people, the original people of this land, who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. This spot we occupy was first the sacred space of several groups of indigenous peoples, including the Cahuilla, the Cupeño, and the Serrano. We, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, light this sacred flame as the stewards of this sacred and holy place. We are blessed with a space and an opportunity to strive out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, and to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to be part of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. Today's reading for the chalice lighting is Drawn Together by Jennifer Grayson. We come together every week, bound not by a creed or a mutual desire to please one God or many gods. Yet we are drawn together by a belief that how we are in the world, who we are together, matters. We light this chalice together in the knowledge that love, not fear, can change the world. Want to try this one? Nope. Take that back. Sure. Thank you. Yes. Well, with or without the flame, our stance still stands. We have a tradition at UUCR to welcome those who are visitors or perhaps returning after some time away. We know it can be uncomfortable to stand up and speak in front of others. So I'm going to ask for a volunteer to stand up, somebody who's been here a while, to come and tell us your name and where you're from and how you found out about our church. We ask that you step close to the mic and speak into it directly and clearly so that everyone can hear, including the people who are online. However, be aware that you are visible on the Zoom camera and in the recording of the service, which is posted online. Do we have any church members who would like to volunteer? Whoop. Okay, he's closer.
My name is Nick, and I am a Universalist Unitarian. We came here, my wife and I, one evening for the storyteller's singer, comedian person was putting on a show, a concert one evening. Part of the proceeds were to go to
Hospice.
And I think it was split between him and us. Anyways, and you still occasionally will see here, we will post someone for a similar event. Um, I had never been in the church before and really had no interest in coming back, although it was a very nice looking church. But Jesus kind of put me off a little bit. And my wife stopped at the rack out there that has all the flyers in it, and she picked up one that said something about Unitarian Universalists welcoming feminists. She was stunned by the idea that a church would actually have the word feminist written down somewhere where it could be seen. So she picked up that pamphlet and several others. She was very interested in what they had to say and said, well, let's go back to that church. I said, enjoy yourself. I'll see you when you get home. And she went for several weeks. See, the thing I know about me is I go someplace, I join in, and then I'm there. So I thought, okay, if she goes and she seems to be interested in staying, then I'll take a look. But I'm too eager to, join. So after several weeks, she said, come and let's go. After a number of years, they're going to call a new minister, and a female minister, in fact. So I came along with her, and we've been here for, I don't know, 20 years now or something like that. And it's a great church. The story about about Jesus is very interesting, how that plays out and what it represents.
Okay, briefly, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. That's how it's done. If you are new here, a visitor, or an old friend, please raise your hand to stand and come up to the mic in front of the pulpit. And if there's someone online who would like to introduce themselves, please raise your hand online and we will call you on Zoom. Please let us know who you are, where you're from, and how you found out about us. You may need to move the mic up a little bit. You're tall.
Appreciate it. Hi, my name is Chad. It's my first time here, and I'm from San Bernardino. And to keep it brief, I found this church via Google. Thank you all for welcoming me today.
Thank you. You have to step close to the mic, sorry.
Hi, my name is Viviana, and I have been to this church before. I haven't been here for a few years. Hi, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So I have not been here. I have been to this church before. I have not been here in a few years. And yeah, I just had a really nice moment here with the people that I connected here, and the message and the mission that this church stands for. So that's why I felt I'm open to coming back and reconnecting now that I'm back in the area.
Thank you. Welcome. I'm glad you're back.
Hello, my name is Karina Jacks, and I used to attend the UU Church in Long Beach along with Wren, but I moved back to Grand Terrace a couple of years ago, and this is my first time coming here. I've been meaning to, so I'm really glad that she's giving a service today because I'm excited to see it, and I'm just excited it brought me here.
Thank you. Welcome. Yay.
Hi, my name is Joseph, and this is Ollie. Say hi, everybody. This is our first time here. We actually haven't been to any church since we moved to Southern California, so we figured we would come and check it out. It was actually my mom. That's Kathy. That's my mother. And it was her idea. I've been looking to this church for several months, and I haven't gotten up to actually do it. So followed her initiative this morning and brought us here. So we were happy to see a puppy here. She was really entertained by that. So thank you for bringing your furry friend. And thank you for welcoming us.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Anyone else? Is there anyone online, Adam, who wants to introduce themselves? Okay. For any other new guests that maybe didn't come up, please join us for socializing and coffee hour after the service in our parish hall. We would love to chat with you, and you can also find our visitors book out in the parish hall. Please, in the visitors book, leave your name before you leave so that we know you were here, and leave your contact information if you want to know more about upcoming events. For those online, the best way to get added to the mailing list is to email the church office at admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. It is said that shared joy is a double joy. Shared sorrow is half sorrow. On the first Sunday of each month, we will share the joys and concerns that we have received from you and which we have collected throughout the month. But first, I'm going to read the joys and concerns which were given to us. The first joy is for, oh, this sounds great, ice cold lemonade, watermelon slices, and cool evening walks. Another joy, oh, sorry, this one is a concern. Concern for friends experiencing illness and personal challenges. If there is anyone here in the sanctuary who would like to voice their joy or concern, please raise your hand and you will be invited up to speak again here at this microphone. Is there anybody here who would like to share a joy this past month? Or a sorrow?
Hi, my name is Alec, and I have both joys and concerns to share with you from this month. So I was gone for a couple weeks. I got to go back to, and this is a joy. I'm starting with my joy. I was so happy to see my family. Yeah, it was not a sorrow, although it is for some people, so I hear. But I was really happy to see my family, and I got to also go to Maine to see my aunt, whom I haven't seen in many, many years. Actually, both my aunts, whom I haven't seen since I was essentially a child. So it was really great to get to reconnect with them and get to see them. And it was a lot of fun. Again, just great to see my family. But I do have a concern. First of all, I have a second joy, which is, Margaret is my partner, and they are back in town after doing a bunch of exciting sailing races in Lake Michigan. They went to and they had a lot of great fun and a good time, except that on the way back, they got the COVID surge, which has been going around, which is why I've got a mask on this week, just in case. They're not feeling too badly, but still nice to have them in your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
A short joy. Pence now says Trump was wrong. Imagine that.
Thank you, Walt. Bill?
Basically, for lack of a better word,
Join the meeting.
Go ahead.
Joy that I've joined the meeting.
Yes.
The sorrow is generally one of those annoying things where you read the paper and occasionally you feel like you've just been mugged, where you just hear people talking about the Mother Ocean is sitting here they say it's as warm as a hot tub in some areas. So concern for the planet that happens to be the current only life support system that we've got. So, but joy that we have people who are willing to work on it. And although we don't have the exactitude of what we're doing, the hope that we can fix it back up to slowly to the point where our grandchildren and great-grandchildren might be able to live through this. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about tipping points, but there's also all those moments where human ingenuity does make a difference. So it's a braided thread in this case. It's both joy and concern.
Thank you, Bill. Bill, you want to wait over here for a moment? Hey, is there anyone else?
Good morning. I'm Nick, and I'm a Universalist Unitarian. Briefly, I had a fall several months ago. I feel like I'm finally beginning to recover from it. I still have to use a walker to walk any distance, but I'm able to get around much better, having seen every damn doctor in Kaiser and still not really getting a firm diagnosis other than I hurt myself. So, but physical therapy, acupuncture, muscle manipulation, all these things are making a difference. And that's good because I'll be leaving the country soon, and I want to be in decent shape for that. I finally got my permanent tooth in my head, so I don't have to, every time we have a luncheon or something, I don't have to pull this thing out of my mouth and look like a hillbilly from West Virginia. It's where I was born, by the way, so I'm allowed to denigrate them a little bit. Anything else
I guess not.
of joy?
I'll take care of myself.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Another one?
Old saying that suddenly came to my mind. Measure by micrometer. Color it with crayon. Cut it with an axe if you got to. But for God's sakes, keep cutting. Please do not do this on your mom's furniture.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, anyone else? Okay, then I will tell my joy and concern. My concern was that I was at the last Sunday that I was here delivering a sermon from the pulpit. The following day on that Monday, which is I think 2 weeks ago now, I went to RCC so I could get on a waiting list to check out a laptop for the fall semester. And as we were leaving and walking to the parking lot, I twisted my ankle on an uneven piece of the sidewalk there, bent the ankle all the way over onto the top of my foot, fell on my knee, skinned it all off, landed on my head and my shoulder. Next day, went home, put ice on it. Next day, we went to urgent care, took x-rays, found out 2 days later, there is no fracture, no broken bones. That is definitely a joy. But I could not walk on my leg for several days. It became very swollen, turned completely purple. However, it's 2 weeks later, the swelling is definitely going down. The pain is greatly decreased and I can walk without Nick's walker. And so that I'm very happy about that because my second joy, as Nick kind of alluded to, is that I'm saying it now because this is my last chance for joys and concerns. We won't be here the first Sunday of next month, which is September, because we applied to and were accepted into the study abroad program from RCC. We're the oldest people at age 72 that they have accepted into that program, and we will be spending a little more than 3 months in Florence, Italy, studying. So we will be gone. We won't. Hopefully, we'll be back here by Christmas Eve service. So that's my concern and my two joys. Now, we place a stone in our water chalice to represent the joys and concerns we have shared with our church community, and in recognition that those we hold close that have not shared. May we remember those who have spoken, those they have named, and those we hold in silence in our hearts. Our hymn now is number 1064. It's in the teal hymnal, Blue Boat Home, but it also will be projected. Feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing 1064, Blue Boat Home. Now, this portion of our service is important. It is to support our beloved historical church. This can be accomplished many ways. In addition to the weekly collection, you may send your checks to the church address, which is shown here. You may contribute by PayPal using the QR code This is also shown here, as well as on the church website and in the newsletter. Now, Stater Brothers Market gives our church a rebate on Stater grocery cards, which we sell and which we have in our church each Sunday. Amazon gift cards are also available. You get the full value, and the church also receives a percentage for free. Please see Dinah Rowe. Is she here? Okay. Or Robert Brown in the church office if you are interested in purchasing the gift cards. Please donate as the Spirit moves you by whatever method works best for you. Thank you for your generosity. And to those who give of their time and talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. Now, will our ushers please come forward to receive the collection? We will also be passing around a bag to collect any food or hygiene donations for those in need. Thank you. Our next hymn is number 402, From You I Receive, also from the Gray Hymnal, but also shown behind me. Please feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn 402, From You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, from this we live. From you I receive.
Our meditation today is titled, For Everything a Season. It is a shared reading responsive reading from Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Please join me in reading the bold italicized verses on the slide. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. Time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. Time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to throw away. a time to tear, and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. Time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. Now let us pause for a moment of silence and reflection. I will hit the gong for us to start our meditation. And when you hear the gong again, please open your eyes and bring your awareness back. Following my presentation of the last sermon in the July series that I did, Building Bridges Across Diversities, which was not a sermon I created, but one that I read. Wren approached me in the sanctuary and asked if we could talk about a difficulty she had after one of the sermons. We sat down in the pews and we had a discussion about tolerance. And is it ever appropriate to tolerate the intolerable? She had strong feelings that one should never tolerate the intolerable. I suggested that she might want to dig deeper into her feelings and opinions and then present her views to the church as a sermon. And she decided to do just that. So now I would like to introduce Wren Monsour speaking to us on tolerance is situation specific.
Thank you, Tinka, for that wonderful introduction. This is my first time being up here like this, so thank you for welcoming me. This sermon today is in response to the recent sermon series, Building Bridges Across Diversities, by the Reverend Melanie Morel-Ensminger, which advocates for welcoming diversity in UU spaces. This series, and the section in particular about tolerance across the political spectrum, really made me think, and it brought up a lot of emotions. I'd like to share with you my journey in growing my own understanding of what tolerance is and how I can practice it in this church. The paradox of tolerance is a term coined by philosopher Karl Popper. It is summarized in the following quote by Jonathan Zunger. Tolerance is not a moral absolute. It is a peace treaty. Tolerance is a social norm because it allows people to live side by side without being at each other's throats. It means that we accept that people may be different from us in their customs, in their behavior, in their dress, in their sex lives, and that if this doesn't directly affect our lives, it is none of our business. But the model of a peace treaty differs from the model of a moral precept in one simple way. The protection of a peace treaty only extends to those willing to abide by its terms. It is an agreement to live in peace, not an agreement to be peaceful no matter the conduct of others. I think it's important to note that Reverend Melanie Morel-Ensminger wrote her sermon series in 2005. That was almost 20 years ago, and the public perception of both major political parties was very different back then. I think it was easier for many people to feel like politics were distant issues that didn't affect them. However, I think political awareness has risen in recent years, making it more difficult to ignore how politics do affect every aspect of our lives, from how clean our water is, to how much money we spend at the grocery store, to how safe we are when walking down the street. I reacted strongly to the inclusion of politics in the sermon, especially the writer using the example of her own husband being Republican, because to me, right now, the term Republican refers to someone who is anti-queer, anti-Black, anti-disability, and largely someone who defies the 7 principles of our church. I am naturally concerned about associating with someone who actively supports people who want to hurt me and my loved ones. Ultimately, I would want to ask the supporters of the Republican Party, do its current figureheads represent you well? Do you feel their actions align well with the UU principles? If not, what will you do about it? We teach about peace and nonviolence, but also to fight against tyranny. In our own hymn book, we have a writing by Frederick Douglass. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are people who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its waters. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out what people will submit to, and you have found out the exact amount of injustice which will be imposed upon them. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. The Building Bridges sermon series was a great lesson on making peace and striving to understand people, of letting go of petty squabbles and harmless differences. But it seemed to me like there was little, if any, acknowledgement of harmful differences. I found myself questioning if I could or should allow myself to associate with people who don't share my politics when I see so many people getting hurt. When I was in middle school, I saw a poster in a hallway that had a quote on it from the poet Susie Kassen. Stand up for what is right, even if it means standing alone. As a depressed, autistic girl with no friends, it had a profound impact on me. I felt like I was being told that it was okay that I had no friends, as long as I had integrity. I decided that it was more important to be true to myself and live morally than to bend my morals just to fit in and have friends. I decided that real friends wouldn't need me to compromise my integrity. The unfortunate consequence of this is that I also developed a fear of moral compromise and tolerance, thinking it would make me a hypocrite, a bad ally, and a doormat. I was scared that if I allowed myself to tolerate something that I knew was wrong, it would diminish my integrity. I was thinking about this as I had a conversation with a UU church member sometime after one of the sermons. We discovered that we had strong opposing views on a political issue. I know that I can't change someone else's opinion whenever I want to. And I remembered that the Building Bridges series spoke on this exact thing with good advice. We need to hold conversations with the solitary goal of understanding another person, of knowing them more deeply and more truly. If our secret agenda in speaking with someone who is different is to convince them how wrong they are and how right we are, then we are doomed to perpetual failure and disappointment. The series also quoted the 2005 report of the Commission on Appraisal of the Unitarian Universalist Association, released at General Assembly in Fort Worth. Tolerance requires conversation, not avoidance. Talking about beliefs, learning from one another, and stimulating everyone's thinking through open and honest sharing of views should be encouraged in congressional life. Without open dialogue, the diversity that exists within the community cannot further personal growth. When I was talking with this UU member, I realized that despite my strong opinion on the topic, I felt capable of having a calm and reasonable discussion with this person who disagreed. I realized that there were a few different factors involved. For one, while I had a strong opinion on the topic we discussed, I did not feel a strong emotional closeness because it only affected me in a theoretical or abstract way. To contrast with this, there are other issues for which I am very emotionally close. For example, queer issues, as I am a queer person, such that if someone disagrees with my point of view, I may have a trauma response because my subconscious interprets that as a direct attack against me. At this point in my life, I may not be physically capable of having a calm and respectful discussion about such issues, why I hold my views, and why it matters to me. Another factor is whether I think there is distant as opposed to immediate harm. If I see someone abusing an animal that is immediate harm, and I will do what I can to stop them. If, however, I think that someone has terrible opinions about caring for pets, but I also know that they have no pets and never plan to have a pet, I consider that a very distant harm. The morning after this conversation I felt like I had an epiphany when I realized that my tolerance levels can change depending on the situation. That's what I mean when I say tolerance is situation specific. The kinds of comments I will put up with, the conversations I'll be willing to have, even the people I will agree to be around, these can all change. I can accept some things in church that I don't accept at home. I won't hold a stranger at a bus stop to the same standard as a close friend. I don't need to expect those around me to have the same tolerance levels as me on every issue just to feel like I'm being true to myself. I'm not a bad person or bad ally if I let some things slide in some situations. As Jonathan Zunger said, tolerance is a peace treaty. Of course, I can and should be true to myself and my morals by standing up for what I hold as right, such as if there is threat of immediate harm. But building community is more important than being right all the time. I am not perfect. My opinions and thoughts are not universal truth. I do not want to only interact with identical clones of myself. That would be boring and ultimately harmful to myself, as it would keep me stagnant. I can never change and grow without encountering new ideas. And encountering new ideas means that I have to have uncomfortable conversations with people, especially when we disagree. And I think our church is the best place for me to do it. The UU minister, Reverend Mark Morrison Reed, wrote, "The central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind us all. There is a connectedness, a relationship discovered amid the particulars of our own lives and the lives of others. Once felt, it inspires us to act for justice. It is the church that assures us that we are not struggling for justice on our own, but as members of a larger community. The religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen, and our strength too limited to do all that must be done. Together, our vision widens and our strength is renewed." Amen, Ashe, Shalom, Salam, Namaste, and blessed be.
Our closing hymn is number 6 in the gray hymnal, "Just as Long as I Have Breath." Please feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 6, "Just as Long as I Have Breath." Please be seated. And the benediction is actually a quote from Laura Lynn Bellamy. It's number 962 in the Gray Hymnal, which I am about to read. If here you found freedom, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have dreamed dreams, helped one another that they may become true. If you have known love, give some back to a bruised and hurting world. Namaste, amen, and blessed be. And I want to thank you, Wren, for the time that it took to look deeply into this topic and sharing your insights with us this morning. And I also want to applaud your courage. First, the courage to come up and speak with me about your concerns after the service. Then your courage to look deeper and to see and to have a journey to discover whatever you have discovered. And then thirdly, the courage it took to come up and to share all of that very personal journey with us this morning. Thank you so much. It is sincerely appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you up here again. For those of you who would like to stay in the sanctuary for 10 or 15 minutes to share some discussion or observations or feelings of your part from this service, please remain in the sanctuary or online. Just be aware that these comments are being recorded and will be posted online. For the rest of you, if you want to leave and adjourn to the parish hall, you may. So is there anyone who would like to come up and share any of their thoughts? Did anything come up for you?
First of all, Wren, again, thank you for that thing. A lot to unpack, even after all is done. As a Unitarian, when you go Unitarian Universalist, you don't always want to have this specific function, like I am a cog. It's not something that brings you joy hi, it's Sunday morning and I'm a cog. But there's this moment, another term that we get in tolerance that you get in the sciences, which is plus or minus this much, and jammed together, the cogs will turn if they are cut properly, and you will get a function, a movement of some larger purpose or hope so that the big clockwork machine keeps on grinding. But it's not a very human feeling and doesn't lift up our hearts. I do not come to Sunday so that I can feel like a mechanism. And her bringing up the idea that says, how much of what we're doing is something that our hearts can tolerate versus how much joy it brings us, how much beyond being a mechanism of the world and to be a more fully human being there. That's important. It's one way that I would use to cope with things was to sort of do a reverse cog. In other words, I would assume that any group you could name by a couple of add-ons, all Latino males, all Latino females, all white males, all white females, that we were a reverse cog, and that I gave us about a 1 in 10, 1 in 10, 1 in 5 chance of us snagging and not turning well as a cog. And if it was my day to be glitched, I hoped desperately that one of y'all would be there to cover me on a day that was not working well for me. And likewise, I would cover well for you. on your bad day. And that part of our tolerance was to realize our common human brokenness. And in that knowledge of common brokenness, rise to at first more merciful and eventually more loving and more transcendent view of what it meant to be human. But I wouldn't have had that if you hadn't had the setup that you did on this. And I thank you very much for it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you. I'm Lawrence. And I appreciate what was said in the sermon about open conversation, because that makes it like a talk show. And anytime you have a talk show, if you watch them, that there's a lot of entertainment. Sometimes it gets emotional. I'm not talking about Jerry Springer, anything like that. But, you know, it gets emotional, but it gets fun. It gets entertainment. And you usually learn something. Carl Sandburg, the poet there, he was once asked, what is the worst word in the English language? He said, well, the worst word, and everybody was expecting a 4-letter word or something like that. And he said, no, the worst word is exclusive. I thought about that. I thought, you know, that's pretty good. Because if you're exclusive, you know, you've kind of cut yourself off from learning something new and discovering. And even adventure, you've cut yourself off from that. Now, I've been going to this church off and on for many years. And I was here many years ago when Pastor Brandy Lovely was here.
Yeah.
You remember him?
Oh, yeah.
The place was packed. There was a choir, and Bill and I sang in the choir, and it was really good. I like that name, Lovely, Pastor Lovely, because there was a pastor over in Loma Linda, and his name was Elder Lovelace. And well, I'll take Lovely over Loveless anytime, and I'll even take Brandy. But you know, but this church is going through a lot, and ups and downs. It's hung in there, and there's a lot of good people. You learn a lot of things, and it's still on the right track. Every time I come in here, it's on the right track. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so someone online would like to share? Pat. Okay, Pat, would you like to share?
Hi, good morning. I'm still trying to figure out how to, okay. Can you see? Good morning.
Yes, we can see you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Pat Colander. It's too hot in the sanctuary. I really admire all the people that are there suffering in the heat, but I can't do it. Anyway, I just want to thank Wren. That was really helpful. I agree with you that it's very hard these days to feel connection with people who want to harm you. And I don't, it's very difficult. Anyway, so I really got something out of this, and I'm trying for tolerance now. And I'm really grateful for your honesty with this topic. Thanks a lot. That's all.
Thank you very much, Pat. Okay, Grace.
Thank you, Wren, for sharing your experience with us.
There, you got us.
Is that better?
Yes.
That's better. Okay. Um, I've always felt that faith or spirituality was interactive. And so many of the places that I've gone in the past, it's always been like a one-way conversation where someone talks to you from the pulpit, you listen, you go home. The reason I like this church is that there is an engagement, that you can actually listen to what is spoken here, go home and come back. And if you have some challenges with it, if you feel uncertain about it, like Wren did, then she can actually open up a discussion with someone and sort of explore those views. So in that sense, I think this is a very unique place, and it's a place to explore and learn and share.
Thank you, Grace. Is there anyone else? Okay, Walt.
LGBTQ is currently our civil rights, our time. Just as in the past, there's Martin Luther King. And then, of course, in the past, Roe, which we had for 50 years. This country is attempting to regress 50 years when it took 50 years to arrive at this point. No way it should be allowed. On a personal note, my ex-wife, despite my telling her how perfect I was because I bought the house that she picked with cash, so there was no mortgage. I thought that we agreed on everything. We had similar backgrounds, similar viewpoints, similar. She turned gay and is 2 blocks west of West Hollywood, and she's a school psychologist, and she told me she loves the kids, she loves the parents, she loves the teachers. So with the administration. I wish her well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Did this spark anything inside of anybody? Anything that went through their head? Anything they want to share?
I'd say this is a shorter approach, at least I certainly hope so. But they had something on YouTube where they talked about people and social media. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? 80% came down in favor of negative. So the idea that we are building bridges all the time rather than saying, tell you what, you live your house the way you do your house and come to work on Monday morning, and we'll both work as far as how the work demands we go. And we'll operate under that idea. As a guy who, there are people who are saying now that we would have had a hard time if 9/11 had happened during the current times because we are so antagonized to each other. But I still think and still hope that the phrase universal is going to be stronger than narrow little glitch issues. When I was in service, it suddenly struck me that 30-year-old pilots should not be piloting planes vital to the nation's defense that were older than they were. Later on, when I was looking at maybe becoming a teacher there for a while, it suddenly struck me that there should not be teachers having, do it if you want to, but having to buy supplies for their children. So that tolerance, that this is my home, this is my center, and I will accept only a little bit of variation from that thing can change with the situation that we catch. So you caught that one quite nicely as well.
Thank you, Bill. And Nick?
Hi, I'm Nick, still a Universalist Unitarian. It's kind of going along with change a little bit. We all know, I'm pretty sure, the phrase of Superman fighting an endless battle for truth, justice, and the American way. And we mostly know the American way. In my research, I had thought that tolerance had been in there at one point, and I found that in 1948, in the serial of Superman, now it was not a movie, it was a 15-minute piece each week that they played as kind of a selected short, and you put all 15 chapters together in 15 weeks and you get a film. Well, during the 1948 Superman and Mole Man versus Superman, although we all know it was truth, tolerance, and justice. And I found that very interesting that that was used there at that time. Kind of a little footnote in history.
Thank you. Hey, anyone else? Well, if there are no further comments, I want to thank everyone for sharing their thoughts. And just to let you know, because we have several new people here this morning, if anyone that's new or anyone wants to know more about the history of our church, which was established in 1881, or the history behind the window that Nick mentioned, I'm the historian and the docent here, and I will stay in the sanctuary and share and answer any questions that you have, because as I announced earlier, I will be leaving for many months. So this will be your opportunity, maybe your only opportunity. All right, and then the rest of us, please join into the parish hall for further fellowship. Thank you.